Welcome back. This is usethetypes episode 6, adding static assets. So this is a continuation of episode number 5, where we created a simple static web page and served that from our Snap app. So in this video, we're going to modify our program to serve files from a directory, which we could use to serve JavaScript CSS files, for example. So we already have our starter app. We're going to continue where we left off. Oh, if you recall, I had 2 instances of VS Code running. We can probably kill that one. Great. So let's go back to VS Code. Here it is. Here's our HTML. And we're going to modify it to include jQuery. And we're going to put an element in the page with an ID. So it's going to be something like this. Let's change the title to something more interesting, like current time. And we're going to include a script tag to include jQuery, like that. There you go, it's from the CDN. So we're actually going to pull this jQuery.min.js file from the CDN, not from our application static directory. You can, of course, package these scripts with your app if you choose to do so. We'll have another script tag here to pull index.js from a static directory, which is what we'll serve from our app. And we'll change our title to current time. And instead of this paragraph element, we'll have a div with an ID, date_time, and it'll be empty to start with. So we can go back to our app, refresh, and we're getting current time with a greater than character, which I'm going to fix. And that's because I did that. Let's remove that. Fixed. Looking good. So now we'll create a JavaScript file in a suitable location. So we'll go back to our terminal. I'm going to Control-C to get out of the server. We're going to quit GHCI. Here we are. You will recall from the last video that we created the views directory. Now we're going to create the static directory, which corresponds to the path here, static index.js. And we'll create an empty index.js there. And as we saw before, VS Code detects the changes to the project directory, static index.js. We have an .js file. Indentation is 2 spaces as configured in our settings. And we're going to write a simple piece of JavaScript that will use the jQuery library to do stuff to the date-time element on the page. Here's what I prepared earlier. So this is obviously a tutorial on Haskell, not on JavaScript, but briefly, we use the jQuery $function to get the date-time div from the page, and at the beginning of the program, this is the on page load event handler. We update date time, which is this function here, and then every 500 milliseconds we call that function again. So it's just going to update the text of the element E with the current date time converted to a string. Save that. Now, at this point, this file won't be served, so we can go back here and refresh, but it's not going to do anything. In fact, it's going to do that because I'm not running the server. So we're going to head back here and restart GHCI and run our main function, go back to the browser, and it will say current time, but there's nothing there. That's because it's not serving the content. In fact, if we were to do Control-Shift-I to open up Chrome's debugger, we would see in the network tab, if we refreshed, that it's unable to get index.js from the server. So let's go back to our application, and we're going to modify main.hs right here. And we're going to use the serve directory function, which is also in snap.util.fileserve, which is the module that we imported in the last video. Serve directory, like that. And if top, that specifies what is served in response to the top route in the app. We're going to use the alternation operator, pipe, to provide some alternative routes to the application. And we'll use the route function where we can provide these named routes, and we'll start with a named route, so an empty list, and we're going to provide a pair. So each element of the route list is a pair where the first element is the string of the route, in this case it's /static, and then a function which renders that route. And in this case we're using serve directory, and we're going to serve from the directory name static on disk. And we'll save that, go back to our terminal, Control-C to interrupt the server, we'll reload and restart our server, head back to the browser, refresh, and now you see index.js is loaded from the server, and lo and behold, the time is updating. Fantastic. What else can we do? Well, we can make it look a little bit prettier by adding some style sheets, well, a single style sheet to the app. So inside our static directory, so we can go either to the integrated terminal or a regular old terminal. I'm going to use a regular terminal here. Move that out of the way. We can create an empty CSS file. So we go into our static directory, we've got the index.js, we'll create index.css, and back in the editor in VS Code we'll modify our HTML to add a link element to include the style sheet, and we go to the browser and refresh, and lo and behold it's loaded the CSS file. Now let's go and add some styles into the CSS file. Again, it's indented with 2 spaces, and we won't do anything too fancy. We're just going to set a background color, silver, and some fonts and a margin. Save that, go back to the browser, refresh, and it looks a little bit different. Whether it's better or not is entirely subjective. So there you go. We are now serving JavaScript and CSS all from our little Snap app. Thanks very much. See you next time.